Section 4 is moving into adding and subtracting rational expressions. So we're still dealing with those fractions with variables in the denominator. And as you can see, this is the most important thing. In order to add or subtract fractions, you must have a common denominator. So if we just step aside for a minute and we think about, well, how do we add 1/2 plus 2/3? Well, we have to have a common denominator. So we think, well, what do 2 and 3 both go into? So our least common denominator, the smallest thing 2 and 3 both go into, is 6. So what does 2 need to be multiplied by? Well, 3. Now remember, 3 over 3 is 1, so I'm not changing the value of my fraction. Multiply by that. Then 3 needs to get multiplied by 2, so I need to multiply by 1 over there. Multiply fractions by taking numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. Then we just go ahead and add the numerators over the denominator. The denominator doesn't change. So I'm saying I have 3 parts of 6, and I have 4 parts of 6. So if I have 1, 2, 3 parts of 6, and I have 4 parts of 6, how many parts of 6 do I have? I have 7 if you count them all up. That's what adding fractions is. So in this first example, my common denominator is the same, so I can just go ahead and add these two fractions, combining like terms. So I have 1x plus 4x is 5x, minus 2y minus 5y is minus 7y, over the denominator stays the same. Check for any common factors. There aren't any, so that is my answer. That was number 3 in the homework. When I move to number 8 in the homework, I see that I do not have a common denominator. But a little tip, this fraction right here is all multiplication, as is this fraction. So if there are any common factors going on here or common factors going on here, I can reduce those fractions before I start. So there's a common factor of 2 here. So I really have 2 over 3mn squared plus, here's a common factor of n, 6, 5m squared. That just may help my numbers stay smaller so I don't have to work on such big numbers. So my tip is to reduce if possible. Now, be careful. You got to be sure that these are not a plus or minus in either the numerator or the denominator, because we can't cancel then. So now I'm going to go ahead and say, well, what is my least common denominator? So look at the coefficients first. 3 and 5 both go in to 15. M and m squared both go into m squared. You want to take your highest power. And n squared goes into itself, n squared. So my least common denominator is 15m squared n squared. And I do like to write that off to the side, because now when I come in and say, well, what do I have to multiply this by, top and bottom? Well, to change a 3 into 15, I need a 5. M to m squared, I need an m, and the n squared is there. So I have to multiply top and bottom by 5m. And over here, what do I have to multiply top and bottom by? Well, 3 times 5 is going to make 15. M squared is already here, but I'm missing the n squared. So I have to multiply top and bottom by 3n squared. So if I go ahead and multiply these together, numerator times numerator, I have 10m all over 15m squared n squared plus 18 n squared all over 15 m squared n squared. Don't cancel yet. Write this as a single fraction, 10m plus 18n squared over 15m squared n squared. Then check, are there any common factors between 10, 18, and 15? There aren't. 10 and 18 have a common factor, but not in 15. N squared, no common factors, so this is your final answer.